I want you to do something. So, point to your head right now. Point your finger at your skull, at your brain, and say to yourself, this brain is doing consciousness. If consciousness is a function of the brain, then we can say brains do consciousness. So point to your head right now and say out loud, this brain is doing consciousness, or this is a brain doing consciousness. So this kind of like depersonalizes your idea of it's just you have to recognize yourself as just a brain, not think of yourself as a name or a specific personality, but just think of the fact that you're just another brain, a brain just like any other brain in the universe that's doing consciousness, just another brain. So imagine a universe completely devoid of all life. There's no experience whatsoever. And then a brain pops into the universe somewhere and it starts doing consciousness. It's just a brain doing consciousness. So it could be the brain that's listening to this video right now, or it could be some other brain. It doesn't really matter. As long as there's a brain doing consciousness, there is experience. So this universe that's completely devoid of all life, a brain comes to exist, and that's experience. There's experience being done by that brain. That's the only experience there is. There is no other experience. There isn't no nothingness or peaceful oblivion or black voids or any of these other things, these other ideas of emptiness or blankness or silent, peaceful black void, etc., etc. There is just this one experience. There is experience. Even though it's just being done by one brain, there is experience. So whether or not the brain that's listening to this right now is the one that was born or some other brain, there would still be experience. Because it wouldn't matter. It'd be, no matter which brain it is in this particular situation, it would be as if it was you anyways. But it doesn't have to be this particular brain. It can be any brain. It's just the fact that brains do consciousness. And if you weren't born, you wouldn't be in some kind of black void right now. Because you wouldn't exist to be in any such black void, or for there to be a perpetual nothingness or oblivion or whatever you want to call it. Instead, there would still be experience, because experience would be being done by some other brain. Sure, it wouldn't be you. It wouldn't be the particular brain that's listening to this right now. But there would still be experience being done by some other brain, just as there is experience now being done by a brain, the one that's listening to this right now. So there is no escape from experience. Only experience is experienced. Consciousness is always present for itself, as philosopher Tom Clark put it in his essay, Death, Nothingness, and Subjectivity. There is just no escape from experience. Just as non-existence before birth was followed by experience due to the birth of a brain, so too will non-existence after death be followed by experience due to the birth of some other brain in the very same way. So there was experience after non-existence via the brain that's listening to this right now. And so death will also be non-existence. And so we know that other brains will be born via the process of procreation, whether it's a human brain or whatever. There's going to be billions of brains born after the one listening to this dies. And so there will be experience after death via one of those brains. Just like there was experience after non-existence via one of the brains that was born. And it just happened to be the one that's listening to this right now. And so if you were never born, the same thing applies. There was still experience occurring via other brains. So there's just no escape from experience. You might be an antinatalist now, and after you die one day, the life of yet another antinatalist might come after that, and yet another one, and another one. Or an animal that doesn't like life, and so on and so forth. So this is what makes David Benatar's antinatalism, his specific brand, futile, is because he wants there to be no experience whatsoever, because he says all experience is bad, because all experience is done by living brains, and each brain is a life. And he says all life is bad. So he is also saying, he doesn't come out and say it, but he is saying that experience itself needs to be completely extinguished. Which if every single brain in the universe died, that wouldn't be experienced. There would be no comfort to take in that. There would be no peace. Perpetual state of peace. There would just be, it would be skipped over, just like if you were knocked unconscious right now. You go unconscious, and then you'd wake up, and you could look at the clock and see that time has passed. You weren't experiencing the period of time that you weren't conscious. And so, if everyone in the universe died, but then at some point in time in the future, another brain was born, well then death, once again, just like non-existence before birth was followed by an experience due to the birth of a brain, so too will death be followed by experience via a brain. So, and most likely something like the multiverse or whatever is true. We don't understand the universe, but it doesn't matter how long after heat death of the universe it takes for experience to one day come around again, because all the time in between would have not been experienced. From the point of view of consciousness, it would have been skipped over. Anyways, I want to make this video. I know I make in some people's opinions, too many videos on this topic. But I feel like the whole getting you to point at your skull and saying out loud, this brain is doing consciousness, that kind of, I feel like that's a good approach for explaining this. So just seeing that, don't think of yourself as whatever your name happens to be. If your name's Mike, don't think of yourself as Mike. Just see that you are just another brain that was born and doing experience. And so if you weren't born, there would still be brains doing experience. Only experience is experience. Anyways, I'm rambling. Thanks for watching.